Welcome, everybody. This is Sidebar Speaker Series. Sidebar, as if you're a member, you know that it is a career growth platform and it's evolved from being a peer network for senior executives to now a more holistic platform where you have so much more, including the speaker series. And today we are welcoming Pietro, who is a friend of Sidebar and hopefully a member soon, one day. My name is Sue Belagodu. I'm one of the founding members at Sidebar. In my life outside of Sidebar, when I'm not hosting their speaker series, I am a product executive. I was a co-founder of an AI native startup, and now I advise AI native and AI enabled startups to take their products to market. And I absolutely love being in this world. And I don't think AI is hyped. I do think we should all get on with it and start to adopt AI in our lives, in our professional lives and personal lives. So welcome again. Pietro Montaldo, for those of you who are probably not aware, but I'd be surprised if you're not, is a star on LinkedIn. His every second post
Too
goes
kind.
viral.
You are too kind. So
What I love about Pietro is he shares very hands-on, content on LinkedIn and his newsletter. So much so that once you see it, you can close the window and then go build it yourself. So I absolutely love the type of content Pietro builds. He is the CEO of Enforce AI. It's a company that he's founded and has been running. Pietro, I'll pass the buck on to you to tell us more about what else have you been up to and a little bit more about Enforce and about today's session. What can people expect?
absolutely. Thank you, Sue, for the introduction. And yeah, you have said most of it, right? I run an educational page on AI specifically for non-technical people. This is my very focus. It's what I understand best. And also a page on Substack for those of you who prefer a newsletter format. I have, in general, in my career, I have operated in VC, in startup, and now running my own company, but I've always been at the intersection between AI and startup growth. So this is really my focus. Um, Today, I don't want to spend too much about myself and about the company. If you're fine with it, Sue, I'll jump into the topic of the workshop, drive people through, because we have a lot of things I want to drive this crew of people through.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Google Chrome. Let me
What?
know if you can see it.
Yeah, we see optimizing
Perfect.
landing pages. Just a quick question. Are
Yeah.
there folks on the call that are going to build along with Pietro, or are you mostly going to watch it and then try to build it after? If you are going to build on the call, just message saying, well, thanks, Elizabeth. Build after. Okay, that's good. So he can pace himself accordingly. Fred's going to build after as well. All right, you're getting a mix, my friend. So we'll see how best we can do that.
Absolutely. And it would be step by step. So
Yeah,
also Alexandra, if you want to try and start building with me, if you're gonna get lost, you can just follow along. I think it's generally more beneficial if you try and build, especially with a small cohort, you can ask all of the question. And today's build is not too long, so we'll have time for Q&A, right? So I'll try to pace myself in a way that it's clear and you can also ask questions. So I don't see the chat while I'm gonna drive people through it. So stop me anytime if there are
gotcha.
doubts and moderate the chat. You guys feel free to get the chat going, so we'll take care of keeping you all engaged, okay?
Yep, absolutely. Got it.
So today, and as Sue was saying, I always focus on building things which are very practical and you can use starting tomorrow within your company, right? Today, we are talking about a very simple tool we're going to build live for optimizing landing pages with AI. Before we jump through, just to set the expectation right for this session, it will be a fast session in the sense that I dive through a lot of concept. I want to make an introduction about AI to remind all of this group what is AI good as of today, January 2026, and what is still not good at, because I think it's something that many people overlook, right? To understand what you can build and what you can be successful building, you have to understand what AI is good at. And I'll make it very simple and bore you to the more narrow down concept. And then we'll go through to the guided build. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session in the end. There should be time for everything, but everything will be recorded. So if you get lost at any point while we build or before we build, feel free to start watching and just like engage and ask questions if you have them, because you'll receive the recording after and it will be on Sidebar YouTube, my YouTube, so it will be everywhere, right? So don't worry at all. If you want a screenshot and keep the chat going, please do it. Those makes the best live sessions. So what is, as of January 2026, AI good at and what is not good at, right? This is very, the response to this question changes basically every month or every quarter, let's say, right? As of today, AI is really good at processing data, which is basically what we're going to be doing today. Classifying data. So, for example, it goes through your email, it select what kind of email requires a reply. That's something AI is really, really good at. Any model, right? I'm not going to mention a specific model, but if you have any of the three top models, if you watch Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT, they are all good at these specific things, right? The second thing is good is extracting data. So, for example, take this invoice, which I have received in my email, and extract the invoice amount or extract the due date of the invoice. AI is really good at it. Will do that completely to perfection, right? 99 or 100% of success. And another thing AI is really good at, which deals with processing data, is summarizing. So take the content of all of the emails which I have received today and turn it into a helpful summary. Another thing which AI is very good at, and I personally use it a lot for that, because 90% of my time is creating content and educational content and courses, is writing, generating audio, and only recently image generation, right? If we had this session in September last year, image generation would be barred, right? Image generation was something that was impossible. As of today, if you look at the latest model, like Nano Banana Pro is probably the most known, image generation is one of the things that I use the most, right? For creating infographics, for creating thumbnails for YouTube, for creating basically anything which is image based. And we'll also use it in today's session, right? It's not just about creating imaging, but also analyzing images, right? So these models don't only reason based on text, but they also reason based on images, right? So if you provide a PDF with a long study, which also includes for example, graphics, statistics, and images, the models will be able to analyze also the images and the graphics included in that specific study. And the last thing, the last large bucket of things that AI is really good at is understanding knowledge. So not just processing, but also researching, and especially Gemini deep research being completely integrated with Google is incredibly effective at performing research, but also analysis, synthesis, and coaching. So, for example, if I upload, and I always do it whenever I do a live session, when I upload the recording of the live session, I get AI to give me feedback. Was I going too fast? Was I doing anything which I shouldn't do? And this really helps me, right? Before, the only way to have feedback was to ask the public, and it's always been very hard to get feedback from the public, which is really true. Now you can have an AI roast you right after. Uh, and this brings us to the last topic I want to touch before getting to the actual bidding part is what are AI agents not good at doing, right? Because there's always also that side. You see, this is a slide that I had prepared a few months ago, and one of the things AI wasn't good at was computer control. I left it there and I barred it to show you how fast things are evolving today, and it's in use of the last two months. If you use Claude Cowork, for example, or if you are into CloudBot, which is one of the latest trend of Twitter, computer control, these latest models are really good at computer control too. They can really perform an incredible amount of tasks on your computer as well. Though AI is still not good at and probably won't change at accessing private data. So while we can access everything, which is really open to everyone, right? The public internet, let's say, it's really good at, right? And models are usually trained on those kind of data. But everything which is after a paywall, or if you have to log in, for example, I don't know, Capterra G2, for example, to give product reviews, right? To access those information, it's much more complex. Number one, the provider of those information, the owners of those information don't want AI to access those, and they will protect those information as well as they could using Cloudflare or any other bot protection. And this brings us to the other two things, major buckets, which AI is still not good at, but they probably will change soon, which are list building. If you ask AI, for example, give me all of the fish restaurant in New York, for example, right? Compiling comprehensive lists is not something AI does good, right? So you can try and you will notice, right? I don't know, give me a list of all of, and you put whatever you want, film switch, right? AI is still not good at doing that, right? It will give you 14, 25, hundreds, but at one point you will stop and then you'll have a really, really hard time compiling a comprehensive list. And then finally, obviously, real world tasks like bringing clients for lunch, right? We're obviously not there. And hopefully, if you ask me, we'll never be there if we are good enough to keep the social interaction going. Um, and now we have basically finished the introductory part, right? This was just to give you an idea. What we are building today is very interesting because it really deals with an like a task which you might need to do a lot of times over the course of your career, right? We've always created, all of us probably have created landing pages to test concepts, to test offerings, to launch an event, right? Landing pages are fundamental, and for those of you who have created many of those landing pages, you always have to get feedback on those as well, right? So instead of having to send it internally or having to test and do A/B test externally, which I still recommend, you can check the copy and the visuals of your of any landing page of any website which you have. Like, it doesn't only need to be a landing page, it can also be your main website. You can do that with AI, right? AI can process the text, understand the text, give you feedback on the test based on any framework which you prefer, which you're interested in, and then process also the visual part of it, right? So you can take a screenshot of that page and turn it into like a feedback. And this is not only interesting for you and for your landing pages, but for example, if you work with end customers, right? And you offer services to restaurants, for example, or you offer services for small businesses, right? You can take their landing page, their website, you can pass it to an agent, the agent can do the analysis, and then you can send them a report, right? And this can be a nice way to start a conversation with them, right? So I see you lagging. I'm not sure. I just want to make sure you can hear me well and my internet is working fine.
It is kind of lagging, but I could hear you and see you okay. Just want to make sure folks are able to do that too. Just do a thumbs up if you guys are able to see and hear him. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay, I try to go a bit slower so just to make sure that if it lags, we don't get lost. And if at any point I'm going too fast, so just let me know, okay? So having said this, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and start sharing another screen. I'll first show you what we're gonna build, right? I want you to see the end result and know what to expect. So I hope you'll be even more motivated to build this with me, right? So let me change the screen. Perfect. Okay. So this is the end result. This is what we're going to build today, right? We're going to use this app, which is Relay App. Relay App is an AI workflow builder. It's very simple to build on Relay App. It makes it really, really simple for non-technical people to create meaningful solution, which is why I use it a lot. But you could build this on any other AI workflow platform which you are more familiar with. If you already are familiar and you prefer any other platform, you can do it. You can use Lindy, Relevance, and so on, right? This is my recommendation if you're just getting started, but you can replicate it anywhere you are familiar. So what we are building today is a workflow that starts by taking a URL of any website which you have. And in this case, we'll use a sample website, which is, for example, my website or Relay website itself. So whenever we give the workflow a URL, the workflow will perform these subsequent steps, right? And I'm just going to describe you the major blocks of actions which we'll do, and then we'll build them together, right? First, it will go to the website which we have provided. And based on that specific website, it will extract the text of the landing page, will scrape all of the text from the landing page, and then it will take a screenshot of the full landing page, right? So you can perform text and visual analysis. Based on that, then we'll pass it to Gemini. You can use any model really for this, but we're using Gemini in this example to audit the landing page using Alex Hormozi 100 million offer principles. This is just a framework which I find very effective in reviewing if my landing page are optimized for conversion. And then we're producing a small report based on this specific framework which we have selected. If you don't like this framework and you want to optimize for something else, for example, instead of conversion, you want to optimize for time spent on the platform, right? You can use any other framework, right? This is just an example. This is supposed to give you inspiration on what you can achieve with AI and with AI workflows, but you should always adapt it to what your company requires, what your sector, what your niche requires. Then what we are doing next is we're analyzing the screenshot, and then we are compiling a summary email report, which includes the report on the text and the visual analysis of the page where we want to red mark on the page, right? Optionally, I don't think we'll get to build it today, so we have more time for Q&A, but you can also create a nice Google Doc report, a nice PDF report, if, for example, you want to send it to a potential customer, right? And here we're setting it up manually, right? You have to manually, okay, I want to review this landing page, but you could do it on a list of landing pages as well and automatize all of this process. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna close this page. I'm gonna open a new one in Relay, and then we'll start from very scratches, so you can follow along or you can build it with me, however you prefer. We'll go through all of the step by step, and I'll explain you the logic behind every step. Just remember, I am gonna guide you through this specific workflow building, but it's important that you understand the logic behind all of the step, right? So you can replicate it and adapt it for yourself, which is why this is very interesting. And also, I'll give you more information later when we finish the session, but I ran several different courses on Maven on how to go from, okay, I don't know how to build to, okay, I know the principle of building agents and I have live systems which I know how to maintain and to adapt to whatever I want, right? So in case they're interesting, I'll give you a bit more information at the end, right? But let's get to the building part. Open Relay, you should by now, I saw Sue did a very good job sending the link in the chat. All have an account. It's completely free. You should have at least 1,000 free credits, and I'll send you more after the session so you can test it in case you finish it. You shouldn't. So what we're going to do is when you're on the home page, you'll have to click on plus. And what we want to create is a new workflow, right? Make sure in this case, we're not creating an agent or an NPC service. What we want to create is a specific workflow. Okay, so once you click on that, you'll open up a section that says Untitled Workflow and prompts you to insert a trigger for your agent, right? So I'm going to name this landing page viewer, review, and then I'm gonna go to the trigger part. Okay, so the trigger is the way you always start any workflow really, and it basically tells the agent he has to wake up. It's like an alarm that tells the agent he has to wake up and perform a set of tasks which you will provide to him, right? So whenever you set up a trigger, you can pick between several different options. The most common option is I want a schedule trigger. So every Monday at 8 a.m., perform this set of tasks, right? So the agent every Monday at the hour you specify will perform a set of tasks. Another trigger could be, for example, every time I receive an email that has in the subject invoice, perform the subsequent step. In this case, we're using a manual trigger. In a manual trigger, you can insert inputs. For example, in this case, we need an input because every time we start it manually, we come to read and we say, okay, I want to analyze this landing page. You want to insert an input, which is the URL of the website you want to analyze, right? So here we write website URL, right? So every time we want to run this, we have to have a URL, right? You can't run this without having a URL, okay? And we put it required, so you can't start this workflow without. And this will only start when we come here and tell the workflow, okay, do this specific analysis on this specific page, right? The next step, and I'm going to add notes, which are called headings, but this won't impact the workflow, is just to give you a better sense of what you're building and so you can follow along easier. You don't have to insert them, right? If you want to, you can, but you don't have to insert them. So the first thing we want to do is we want to extract the information from that specific URL, right? The cool part of building with this type of workflow builder relays, which are specifically taught for non-technical people, is that you have all of the possible interesting actions like scraping a website, extracting images from a website are already built, right? You don't have to connect API or do anything complex. It's already pre-built, right? So the first thing I want to do is I want to click on the plus. That's how I add a step in my workflow. And I want to go to web scraping and I want to say scrape content from the website. As you can see, it's all very visual and it's very easy to get started, and that's why I really like this app for beginners. And when I insert scrape content from website, I have to tell the workflow, okay, which website do you want to scrape? In this case, we provided the website in the first step where it says manual start. You see, I have here the website URL, right? Which is what we have to set up every time we launch the workflow, right? By doing this, we basically tell, okay, extract all the information from this specific website, and if no web content is found, continue without a result. Okay, so we have extracted the text. The next step will be extracting the visual. To extract the visual, we have to set up a new step, but like we did before, we have to go to web scraping. We have to go to this section, take screenshot of a website, and we have to do the same exact thing we did before. Okay. So how's the pace going? Do you guys manage to follow? I'm gonna stop for a second and take a sip of water. If I'm going too fast, just let me know. Okay, I'll slow down.
Pace is good for those listening in, but for the ones that are building, I just want to make sure you're able to follow along and able to find these options easily. I know a couple, Fred and Pace is working for building. Okay, fantastic. Okay, great.
Perfect.
Pietro.
Feel free to drop the chat and drop a question in the chat if you get lost at any point. Okay. Anyway, you'll have the recording of all of this. So, like we did before, in step 3, we want to point the workflow toward the right website to take the screenshot of, right? In this case, we'll go again to manual start, which is where we provided the website URL. We click on website URL. We specify that if no web page screenshot are found, continue without a result, which is the standard option. And then whenever we take a screenshot, we want to pay a bit of attention. This is something you learn by doing it. You want to make sure that it waits a bit longer for the page to load, right? Most of pages takes a bit of time to load, and they load the first part of the website before loading it all. If you set up a larger loading time, instead of 3000 milliseconds, you put it 30,000 milliseconds, usually works best, right? You'll probably get a good results even with 3000, which is the standard, but I always recommend make it a bit longer. The workflow will run for a few seconds, few minutes longer maybe, but it will still be very, very effective. Okay. So basically here we're setting it to 30 seconds.
Pietro,
Uh,
quick
yeah.
question. Does that affect the credits used or no?
No, the wait time doesn't affect the credit use. The only thing that affects the credit use, for example, if you're trying to go to a website which has additional proxy for bots, in this case, website usually don't. You see here, if I wanted to set this one to yes, it says here cost additional credits, right? So it's also very explicit over that, right? You don't have to worry that you're spending too much. And anyway, you always start with a start run so you can have a feeling of like how much credit you're consuming, and then you can optimize a bit by changing models or the workflow itself, okay?
Great.
So we have set this one instead of 30 seconds, 3000 milliseconds to 30,000 milliseconds, right? And then we click done, right? We have extracted the content. What we want to do next is we want to produce a report based on the context, right? So I'm going to insert a note. Again, you don't have to do this. It's just for order and for having a cleaner workflow at the end. But I'm in producing a report is going to be an AI step, right? So based on this information, we have extracted information. We said at the beginning of the session that that's something AI is very good at, and it really is. The next thing we want to do is summarize and process this information which we have extracted, right? So to do this, we want to insert an AI step, right? And we want to use a custom step. If you're doing a very specific action, you can use already extract, summarize, or write. In this case, I already have prepared a prompt, which I will share with you. But otherwise, you could also use the other step, right? In this case, it's already pre-made, so we'll go with a custom AI agent and we'll customize it together. Okay. Um, every time you create an agent, you have to make sure of two things. Number one, that you select the model you want. A cool thing of using third-party providing and not building directly into Gemini, Claude, or OpenAI is you can test with different models, right? Claude is better at writing text. GPT-03 or GPT-5.2 are really good at processing structured information. Gemini 3 Flash is very good at doing research, for example, right? So here you can test and play with the models so that you know you're using the best for that specific feature. In this case, whenever I'm in doubt, I always start with Gemini 3 Flash, which performs really, really well over a large variety of tasks, and it's also very, very cheap, right? So I'm gonna select Gemini 3 Flash and say it wanna use this model, right? The next thing I want to do is like when you chat with ChatGPT or with Claude, you want to give the instruction to the agent. What does this agent have to do? Okay. In this case, we want to run an audit. I am gonna copy and paste a prompt here because I've already prepared and tested it to show you. I will also paste it in the chat, so you don't have to write it, but you can just copy paste it in the chat, okay? I'm gonna read it through and then I'm gonna paste it so you all know what this prompt does, okay? So I'm basically instructing the agent, you are an expert landing page auditor and you are trying to follow the conversation optimization principle taught by Alex Hormozzi. So I'm telling you, okay, use this framework to judge my landing page. I'm giving you the information with which I want him to perform the specific analysis, right? In this case, I'm telling identify every element or issue that could harm conversion and generate a detailed client-ready audit report, right? So I'm focused on conversion. As we said before, you can have it focus on something else, right? Is this visually appealing? Is this keeping people here as long as they possibly could, right? So you can optimize for any different um, objective which you might have, right? So you can just do it by adapting the specific prompt, right? And then I'm also giving a bunch of information about what I want to have in my prompt, right? I want to have reference to Hormozy best practices. I want to rate each major element, offer, copy, call to action, visual layout, urgency, and so on. And I want to suggest concrete, actionable changes where improvement is needed, right? Okay, so we have put together the prompt. Let me paste it in the chat so you guys can access it. I have momentarily lost the chat. Okay, let me reopen it here. Perfect. Okay, so I'm pasting here the content of the prompt. So those of you who are building with me can just copy paste this in the prompt section. Once this is done, you have to make sure of two things. Whenever you build an agent, be it here or be it that you're building it outside, or being that you're building like you're asking the information into a chat like ChatGPT, you have to, number one, make sure that AI has access to all of the right information, right? So if I ask, okay, analyze this landing page, but I don't give the landing page to the URL of the landing page, the agent will return, okay, give me the landing page. You don't have access to this specific set of information, right? So how you do this within Relay is you click on this button, data from previous step, and you have to make sure that you have given access to all of the steps which are needed. In this case, we want to make sure that he has access to all of the information which we have added before, right? So we want him to have access to the web content, which is the information that is scraped through the website, and to the web page screenshot, right? We want him to have access to all of what we had before, right? So again, you go to data from previous step and you make sure he has access to the web content and web page screenshot. And this is the first thing you have to make sure. He has access to the right set of information. The second thing is you want the output to be formatted in the best possible way, right? In this case, for example, Relay already offers me an auto-generated offer, like an auto-generated structure for the update, but you can edit it and change it however you want, right? In this case, for example, I want a client-ready report, but I want it in very plain text, right? I don't want it to have any specific structure. I just want a block of text with all of these analyses with the structure which I have defined here, right? So instead of keeping the auto-generate feature, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go here to change the output format to text so that I receive the output format into plain text. Again, you go to the three dots up here, and instead of having a structure output, which you have by default and by design within Relay, you change it to a plain text step. Now it's taking a second, but if I turn this off and go to change output format to text, it will be again to what we want for this specific case, right? So we want plain text. And then we click done and the agent is ready. We have selected the model, make sure it has access to the right set of information, and structure the output in a way that we know it's what we want to be reused in the next step of this specific workflow. Now, this is like an added step, which I saw it worked better, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna use this information that we have extracted in prompt 4 with this Gemini 3 Flash prompt, which we have just done, and we are gonna remodel it. We are gonna have one step, this one which we have just set up, to gather all of the information and produce all of the juicy information about the landing page, and then you're using another step to make it client ready and shareable, right? So we can insert in a PDF. This is just prompt designing, right? You could design one single prompt that does all of this together. For me, it was easier to get to a result, which I was happy to, because I actually really use this in my day-to-day. It was easier to get to it by having one step extracting the information and one step then formatting them and creating a report how I want it to be created. Okay, so again, this is my way of approaching it with the two prompt step. You could test with Claude, for example, having two prompts with Claude and see how that works. Or test one with Claude and one with Gemini, one to extract with one and the other one to compile the report with the other one, right? So the only really important thing is that you test what works best for your specific use cases, right? So in this case, I'm going to drive you through what my living creature is, right? And this is what's mainly useful for me. But please, always remember this might not be the best structure that works for your specific use cases, so you have to test and adapt. Okay, so I always invite everybody who bids with me, everybody who takes part in my courses to test, right? And find the best way for their specific use case. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add another AI step so we can also review all of the step. We're going to use again a custom AI step. We're going to make sure the model is the model that we want, in this case Gemini 3 Flash. I'm going to click use this model. We're going to make sure it has access to all of the information which we want to. In this case, we see that it has access to the results of the previous step, which is the AI output, which is the information which we have just compiled based on Alex Hormozzi's principle. And then we're going to insert a prompt, copy paste it again, and then put in the chat for you. And I'm basically telling you you're a conversion optimization expert. Present a list of actionable recommendations for the clients, classify either must do and nice to do. For each, provide a clear description and specify the potential impact, high, medium, low. Write in direct line appropriate language. Do not mention Alex Hormozzi internal methodology, right? So I'm basically taking all of the research he has done before, which I have access to, and then I'm telling you, okay, now manipulate it and transform it into this client-ready asset, which I can share with them, right? I want must to do, nice to do, and I want to classify high, medium, low, right? So if I want, I can use it myself, give it to my team, or if I'm working with external clients, I can share it with them directly, okay? As we did before, wait, let me paste it in the chat again for those of you who are building live, so you can copy paste it as well. The last step, if you remember correctly, is now checking that the output is how we want, right? One more time. Relay auto-generate an output. In this case, I want again to have the output format set to text, right? In this case, you can select within plain text, which is simple and unformatted. In this case, since I want to share it with client, I want him to have rich text. Basically, it's going to differ because it has bold, italic, bullets, it has headings, right? So it's just nicer if you want to share externally, right? So again, we clicked on the three dots, we said change output format to text, and then we select the rich text, so we want to share it externally. And now we have created the most important asset, which we are ready to share. The last thing which we have to do, and I'm going to insert one last note, is analyzing screenshot and making notes, right? So far, we have only analyzed visuals. Sorry, my mouth was very dry. And analyzing the screenshot and making notes. So this is the last step. To do this step, we're going to have to use Nano Banana, right? So if we go to, if we type generate and we click generate an image, right? We can use any visual model as well, right? In this case, what we want to do is we want to take the screenshot, we want to upload it in Nano Banana, and we want to tell Nano Banana review this landing page and, sorry, something. Uh,
No, I
I
think
can't see
one
you.
more.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So again, here I'm gonna paste a prompt. This prompt is not for Gemini. This prompt is for Nano Banana, right? And I'm gonna tell him review this landing page, highlight with red circles on the image, handwritten notes with key improvements area based on conversion optimization principle by Alex Hormozzi. So basically, I'm telling you, do the same that you did before with text, but this time do it visually on the screenshot, right? So if I want share something more visual, which always work better with clients, I can just insert notes directly on the screenshot and spread the screenshots like, see, these are the improvements which you could do to your specific landing page. Okay. What you have to do, and let me paste this in the chat one more time. What you need to do then is you need to tell him, okay, which is the source image which you have to insert here. And the only image available is the screenshot here, web page screenshot. So we'll select that. And then it's very important that you select Google Nano Banana Pro, right? Google Nano Banana Pro is the latest model by Gemini, and it's the only one who can reason based on text and uh, basically doesn't make spelling mistakes, right? So it's the one you should use. Once you have selected this, you can also edit resolution, aspect ratio. In this case, let's not touch that, but we have extracted all of the information. And to make sure that we can send it out in an email, we want to turn this specific email into a URL. In general, whenever you want to use an image in a workflow, I recommend turn it into a URL, right? Because that helps you use it. You can just paste a URL wherever, and it's just easier for you to reuse it, right? So we're gonna do a generate. If you type generate here and then go to generate URL for file, type generate and then go to generate URL for file, you see that you can select a file and you can select generate a URL for that specific file. In this case, the file we want to generate a URL for is the image generation result, so the image generation that we have just created. And then we select image, and then we can select when the URL expires. In this case, let's say 30 days after the creation. So if we want to send it out, it lasts for longer. Okay, so we have extracted all the information, part one, produced a report on the text, part two, produced a visual report on the same image. The last thing we want to do is we want to send ourselves a summary report, right? You could even send it directly to a potential customer or to your team. In this case, let's send it to ourselves. So what you're gonna do is you have to click on, let me remove it and show you again. Click on the plus again, go to send, sorry. If you type send, the second voice, no, the fifth voice will be send email to yourself, right? This automatically send an email to the email you have created the account with, right? So it's always very, very simple. If you want to receive the result, you could receive it also in Slack or any other medium used within your company, really, right? Whenever you want to send an email to yourself with the report, you have to insert a subject like you do in an email. So here we're gonna type something like client ready landing page recommendations. And then we are gonna have to type uh, something like basically the object of this summary, right? So in this case, I want to have within the email the AI output, right? The AI output of step 5, which was basically the summary he created for all of the information which I've given. So if you go to, again, if you go here to body and you insert data, and then you go here and you select step 5 AI output, we could even rename that. Now, to go a bit faster, I didn't rename everything, but if you rename it, you could call it whatever, a client ready report, and you insert it inside. And then the second thing you want to do is you want to insert the results of the screenshot, right? So if you go here and click on this image with the small plus on the top and click on plus and then insert the image, you can insert a URL, right? In this case, we have created a URL. So instead of upload, we're going to go to web address URL here at the top, and we're going to go to image URL. Okay, when you're there, you click on plus and you select step 7 file URL, which is the URL of the image which we have just created. Okay. If I click on plus, I will have a very simple email. You can make it more sophisticated, but for the sake of this demonstration, this is good enough. And you have the AI output and the image together, right? Okay, so that is the building of today. Just to summarize, I'm going to start a test run and then I'm going to summarize with you what we did. I just click on test. Whenever you test, you have to insert a URL. So let's insert the URL of Relay app, which is the app we're using today. And then I click on start test run. It will run through all of the steps and then we'll see the results together, right? So what we did today, just to summarize. Uh, Number one, create a trigger that starts the workflow. In this case, it's manual and it requires the URL. Based on that URL, we'll scrape the content. Based on the content which we have scraped, we'll first produce a report on the text, classified by must do and nice to do, and actionability based on Alex Hormozzi principle. Then we'll analyze the screenshot, we'll write on that specific screenshot the recommendation, and then we'll take all this information, the AI output and the image, and we'll send it to ourselves. Okay? Whenever you test a workflow in Relay, you can also see all of the logs of the activity and evaluate how it's performing. You can see the results here of the web page screenshot. We can see that it took the screenshot. We can see that it found all of the content of the web page. You can see it all as well. Here's all of the content which it has extracted, right? It's not formatted clearly. And now we can see it's generating the image and it has already created the written report, right? So here you can already see it's working well. It created a landing page optimization recommendation, for example. It created the must do. It created the nice to do, for example, right? Now it's creating the image. When it has finished creating the image, it will send it to ourselves, okay? So in the meantime, I'm going to open my email. So we should receive the email soon. Any question while it finishes running? It should be done. Okay, yeah, finished. So let's stop with the question. Let's just see the final results, and then we should be good to go to the Q&A. Let's see. Okay, I see. I have received the email, landing page optimization recommendation, must do, nice to do. And here you see, I hope you can see it well, but this is the screenshot with all of the notes of things I should do, right? For example, vague promise, make it a specific high value outcome, save 20 hours per week, instant clarity and value based on Alex Hormozzi, right? And then he has a bunch of other notes, also recommending what's been doing good and what's not performing well according to this specific framework which we have given, right? Again, you can customize it, but this is very nice. Like I could decide to share this directly with a client, I save the image and I send it to them. Okay. And that's it for the building part.
Yep.
Good, we still have 13 minutes for Q&A. I know it was a lot of concept, right? The goal of this is to show you the potential, show you how easy it is to build and to review and to monitor this kind of systems. Um, while we go to the Q&A, I'll just leave you on the screen, and then you can ask any question you want. The link to my course, okay? Basically, the course is 20% theory, like we did at the beginning, 80% building, and it's mostly focused. This specific session is focused on go-to-market and commercial system, right? Not sure if that's interesting, but feel free to ask any question about it. The topic is really learning how to be a better go-to-market expert and be augment your potential with AI. Okay, so space to question. I hope everything was clear. I'm happy to both show you technical things or answer more broad things about AI. So, guys, this is literally time for you. I would love to hear any question you guys have.
Thanks, Pietro. This was super helpful. It's always fun to see it come together towards the end of the session. So, really appreciate that. If you don't mind, I want to direct people to the NPS link I posted in the chat. That's super
Mhm.
important for us because we take it
Absolutely.
seriously, and it's all about giving the community the kind of content you appreciate and like.
Absolutely.
Take a moment to fill that out. And Pietro, if you don't mind, I'll share my screen for a second
Yeah, please
and
go ahead.
go back.
Sure, I can. I'll share my social in the chat as well, but you guys do the NPS in the meantime. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Really.
Okay,
And
perfect.
then we can get started with the questions while you scan. And if you can scan this, I also dropped the link in chat. Um, this only takes a couple minutes. Scan it, leave it on, but then go ahead. Any questions for Pietro?
Both, if you guys want to know something about technical, you didn't really understand the flow, or if you want to. Okay, I see Sarah has a first question. Uh, how would I create what should be in the workflow? I'm not sure I understand,
Okay.
Sarah.
Hi. Can I elaborate? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
first of all, this was fabulous. Thank you so much. My
I'm really
question
glad.
is, I understand the building part of it, but you had a concept in your head what should be in the workflow, meaning
Yeah,
you had this concept to do a prompt that included a structure, and you had a concept that you should have a written report and a visual, and you had a
correct.
concept that the written report and the visual should not reference anything to Alex Hamosi. So, like, I get the process of what you did in terms of the using Relay and the step by step, but how did you come up with that concept? Am I explaining that better?
Yeah, I completely got it. And like, if I can, so I have a slide 'cause this always come up, and it's
Okay.
possible to cover in the course. So can I share over you 1 second, Sue, or you'll kill me?
I'll think about it, but you can share
Mhm.
now.
Okay, so perfect. So the
Sarah.
concept here, Sarah, is imagine as when you hire an intern, right? When you're hiring anybody, really, what you have to do when you hire someone is you write a job description, right? Part of the job description is going to be responsibilities for that person. In this case, the responsibility of the intern I wanted to hire was reviewing and optimizing landing pages, right? So before hiring anyone, ideally, and we've all made the mistake on not doing it, you should write very specific documentation on what we want him to do, right? So think it the same way, right? How do I like before starting to build, before even going to the sketching board, what do I want this to do, right? What's the end goal I want, right? The end goal is like a client-ready presentation on what they're doing wrong in the landing page, right? This was my idea before I started to build this, right? And then I thought about, okay, you have to go to the website, extract the information in the website. You have to go to the website and extract the visual for the website because I also want to analyze that, right? And only when I have written down that job description, that specification, I turn it into a workflow, right? But it's a step two. I hope this makes it clear, right?
Yeah.
But in general, imagine like AI as a helpful intern, right? I
Hmm.
always compared to that. And hopefully soon it will not be an intern, but it will be a senior, right? But whenever you onboard him, you have to explain him what he has to do and how he has to do it, right? You are the brain, you have the knowledge,
Hmm.
and the only things that give you, as Sarah and me, as Pietro, value is how we do things, how we think about things, and our own way of doing them, right? So when he come on board, you teach him, okay?
So it's
And
kind
this
of
is
so it's kind of
what.
like when I built an app in Lovable, I first work through with an LLM what I want the app to be and the whole concept before I actually go into Lovable and I start building. I kind of do this
Mhm.
whole conceptual building before I actually build it. So it's kind of the same concept here. You kind of have to conceptually build in your head what you're doing and then you do the implementation.
Yes, exactly, right?
Okay.
Before building anything, right? And it's what for Lovable or for an AI
Right,
agent,
right.
it's the same, right? Here, I think it's more helpful to think, okay, I'm literally hiring someone, right? What do I
Okay.
want this someone to do, right? That
Mm-hmm.
helps you conceptualize it for yourself, right? It helps you give it a structure, right? And I always use this very simple framework, right? Before I build something, also don't make it too complex, right? But a great job description has a name and four bullet points of responsibilities, right?
Got
That will
it.
be your agent. Every responsibility you can describe it as fast and like as complex and with as much detail as you want, right? But you start from that, and that already gives you a frame, right? And then some things you'll figure out while you build. You'll understand what you can do, what you
Mm-hmm.
can't, what you have to adapt, right? But you start from this is who I want to hire. Let me see if I can build them instead of hiring it because it's much cheaper.
Yep.
Got it. No, that's fabulous. Thank you for that clarity. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So, Pietro, there's another question that
Yeah.
Magda Moss is asking, and she says, or they say, is this considered agentic AI or workflow generation based on the initial control?
So
I
semantic is really complex, right? And if you go to even if you go to the largest player, if you go to OpenAI workshop and Gemini workshop, they will use the term slightly differently, right? So my recommendation, I'm also not a theoretical person, I'm very practical. So don't focus too much on the semantic itself, just to give you an idea of what to respond to your question a bit more punctually. Think of workflow to agent as a continuum, right? Where you are talking about workflow is when you have a subsequent steps which are very well defined by you, right? Like what we did today was eight or nine different steps. We gave specific instruction for all of them. Some had thinking power when we put AI in, when we asked for a report, some didn't, right? If you give more like broader instruction. Okay, I want you to review a landing page. Do it however you want, right? You're more going towards agentic, right? I think for business purposes, we're not at the agentic phase yet because AI is just not good enough at that yet, right? AGI, artificial generated intelligence, is not as good, right? But if you were to be able to give more generic instruction and him to perform it however he wants, right? I'll do the step however I want to do them, and then return a results you're happy with, that would be a more agentic system that takes decision by himself, right? We'll talk about workflow, AI workflow in this case specifically, where we are a bit more deterministic in how we set it up. And my recommendation as of today, again, January 2026, is start with an AI workflow, right? And then go towards more agentic system where you give more freedom to AI. But start with agentic with yourself in the loop, taking the decision. And then when you're comfortable with that, move towards something which has a bit less barrier and it's less deterministic.
Mhm.
I hope that answered the question.
And I think the other question was, how would you create a landing page based on this feedback?
So this is not to create a landing page, and this is an important factor, right? If you were to create a landing page from scratch, you probably go to Lovable, give it some instruction, and think within what you want to have in the landing page, right? This is when you already have a landing page, right? For example, you can use it on your existing website. All of us have an existing website, right? So go to any of your existing websites and test it, for example, right? This is to review an existing website. So you have it, you want to make it better, right? It's kind of a coaching on a website, right? So thinking it that way, right? So it's not to create from scratch, but I have this. How can I make it better for a specific goal? In this case, was conversion. Could be anything else which you want to, but in this case, was specifically conversion, right? So you can have him coach you and give you improvement and roast you if you want on any specific goal which is interesting for you.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. I think those were all the questions. Oh, for context, I will be sending a wrap-up email, and Pietro has all the details really well packaged. So that'll come through to you guys as well, along with the code for his course if you're interested in taking that. The recording will be uploaded to the YouTube channel, Sidebar YouTube channel, and I'll include that in a wrap-up email. Give us a day. So that's kind of what we had. EC, I'm trying to follow what your question is. How to convert with no energy source? I'm not sure how to interpret that. I don't know if it's part of a previous conversation, but
I don't
maybe
understand it.
Hey, Pedro. Hey, Sue. Yeah, it
Easy.
could be related to just the curriculum in general. I think I love learning about products. It's been very interesting so far. The knowledge and just the community in general. So I think just learning more about the space, and I think, from my understanding, I think when you're developing products, products require fuel, essentially what I said in the line there, but they require certain values that help the product develop. Like some maybe require a paint job, some require like electricity and whatnot. So I think it just depends. I think it's just more the overlying I guess scope of the whole curriculum, and so I'm trying to understand that. But I'm very interested in the space, and yeah, like learning with this community. But you know, different products have different priorities, like different services that they can provide, and I think it's important to figure out where that's headed before moving too forward. I guess with this market.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your perspective. Um,
Thanks for that, Sue.
Absolutely. Ramya, I think that's a great question. I'm sure Pietro can add more context to it, but as a Novice user myself, I can tell you that really has a lot of great templates. They're pre-built. I think mostly it's sales and go-to-market and marketing, right, Pietro? And then there's some productivity tools like calendar consolidation and things like
I
that.
think it's basically everything which is non-technical, right? Technical team don't really need this, right? They would use something closer to an A10, something a bit more broad in their scope that gives you a bit more possibility, but comes with a lot more complexity, right? Um, Relay is an infrastructure play, right? So it generally is not purpose built, so you can use it for whatever purpose you want, right? Like Relay, there are plenty of other similar tools. Like you can try Lindy, you can try Relevance, and a lot of things you can also do directly within a LLM, right? For those you don't even need, a third-party platform. You already have ChatGPT, you use that, right? So a lot of how I see my job as a content creation and educator, if you want to call it that way, is really pointing the people in the direction of, okay, this is a good use cases to use this specific tool. This is a good use case to use this other specific tool, right? Customer service would be good to go to a specialized tool, right? Because you need the specific set of of capabilities, while analyzing a landing page or scraping social medias or automatizing activities on Reddit, it's a great use case for something like Relay because you can't really achieve that with Gemini directly or with anything that doesn't require any technical skills.
May I add? So, if people are trying to build agents to automate certain tasks in their workplace, you with Relay app are trying to abstract the work of building the agent and actually help us focus on automating it with the help of the agent, but you're taking away the abstraction. You have already built that, so I can use it for customer service, I can use it for sales commissioning process, whatever it is. So that is the
You mean, sorry, Rami, I'm not sure I understand. You mean my focus
yeah,
is like in my job, right?
like Relay itself, this app. It
Okay.
looks like it has
Oh,
abstracted
yeah, sure.
away the work of the agent itself, but we are still trying to use Relay to do different kinds of automations for our own work.
Correct, right? So this is like I consider it, and I like to describe this tool, like similar tool, like as an augmented AI augmented capabilities for operational people, right? This allows you to perform better and perform more with your own set of skills, right? You have knowledge, you have your experience, you know how your company and your business work, so you are the only one who can really build and craft a system that works within your business, right? This allow you to do it in a very simple way so that you can not do all of the tasks yourself, but those one you can give to AI, you give them to AI, right? So it just makes you a more performing operator.
Okay. And the thing I need to provide is I have to know, I have to map the workflow for whatever I want to get done, automated. I have to map the workflow and bring the artifacts, whether it's a URL or screenshots or prompts. I bring that and feed it with it. Okay. Um, so what is the, sorry, if this is not a good question, but what is the
Don't
benefit
worry.
of using Relay as opposed to directly using a Claude or anything else to automate the same things that people are doing directly?
So uh, there's a significant difference, and this is something I like a question which it's a basic of the course I give, and it's basically what are the three ways in which people today interact with AI? There are three ways of interacting with AI. One is with chatbots. Chatbots are Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, right? You go to a place, you ask for information, you receive an output, right? You chat with Claude or with Gemini and you receive an output, right? But it's a place where you go to do work and to help you get responses or analyze things, right? So you go to ChatGPT and you ask for information and you receive a response, right? You ask, you answer. The second way is copilots. Imagine if you have ever played with Lovable, for example. It's a copilot is a helpful agent within an existing product, right? So on the left in Lovable, in your screen, you have an AI that helps you build a website, a product. Okay, that is an helpful helper within an existing product. Lovable is the product you have within a copilot that helps you achieve whatever task you're trying to achieve. But it's still you have to go to Lovable to use that. An agent and a workflow like the one we built today, and like others like we build, is that it's not a place to do work, but it substitute your work, right? It acts independently of you because it gets triggered whenever you receive an email or Monday morning, and it takes that work and it does it independently, right? So instead of you going to a place to do work, you're substituting your work with the agent, right? And this is the most exciting paradigm for me, as when we move from okay, it's a place to do work, it's a doer of work, it does work on your behalf, it's when you really free up time, right? So Claude is a chatbot. As of today, at least, I'm not sure what direction they will go, but Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini are chatbots, and Relay, like NA10, like others, are ways of creating agentic system, workflow, AI workflow system that do work on your behalf. I hope that
Okay.
answers.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. Yeah, sorry.
Ramya, thank you for that question, Ramya. I just want to be respectful to everyone's time. We can, Pietro, if you can stay on a couple minutes, and Ramya, if you have another question, we can definitely take it. But that was kind of our session today. Give us your feedback and connect with Pietro, connect with me, and Sidebar, so you guys can watch more events like this and participate. So feel free to jump off, but Pietro, if you're okay to
I
stay.
still have 5 minutes, so if there's any other question, I'm happy to respond.
Okay, great. I think Ramya, one key question, if you to add to what Pietro said, is if you're thinking about within your organization, I think Relay for Business is still not big. I'm sure Jacob is probably going that route. But what you have to be mindful of is, security and obviously access to all of your information within the proprietary information within your company. So the way I see it, Relay is really good for individual contributors, or for you within your company to increase your productivity, work with your team, and be more effective. But I think you're talking about agents that you can build within Claude and all of that. Some of them are better suited for enterprises and some better for individuals within enterprises. So that's also another difference in addition to what Pietro said.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I think just to give you context, I'm a non-tech person, so please bear with me for the kind of
I'm
hopefully
also
not.
non-technical, Ramya, don't worry.
Yeah, so I mean no disrespect, but it's if it's coming across as lame. But the thing is, I wanted to know people are trying to build just for their own experience as AI PMs and things like that, right? Their own agents, etc. You have also used models underneath, which is Gemini or Claude, that you can
Of
select
course.
from. So I was curious if people, instead of buying or subscribing 100 different um, subscriptions, if they can build their own thing, just like you have built their own
Mm.
agent, which can do all these things, an agent that will automate multiple other things, but that will require probably more, I don't know, in-depth work or learning. And then you have abstracted basically with Relay all that work. So basically, I know my workflow. If I feed that in, I'm going to be able to automate something quickly. That is the advantage I'm seeing. Did I get it right?
Yes, correct, right? So your learning curve would be much harder and steeper if you were to learn how to build something more complex by using Gemini, by developing with code, right?
Mhm.
Here, what Relay gives you is the opportunity to do this with very little upfront investment. You need to understand how agents work, what's the difference between agents, the basics, building blocks of building agent. Like today we saw there are triggers, there are AI actions, there are other workflow consideration to have, but these are the building blocks, right? Usually when I teach courses within a month, which is 4 lessons, people are able to build their own system and maintain them, right? And it's 4 hours, right? It could be done in a weekend, in a day, right?
Mhm.
So you would be able not only to build something that works, but the most important thing is also to maintain, right? Everything you build needs to be maintained, right? If you
Mhm.
build with code, it's much harder to maintain than if you build with a workflow platform that basically does all of the complex part on your behalf.
Okay. If this was very, very simple and easy to follow, of course, we have to make some effort and practice it ourselves. What is that is different in the course that you're providing that we have to, because if we can watch a couple of your recordings, you're also putting it on YouTube. So what is it
Yeah.
that is different in the course?
That's a very good question, right? In general, I'm very open with sharing my knowledge, right? So you'll find a lot of information on YouTube, and this will give you already a very good base, right? The only advantage of the course is number one, like it's what people tell me, it's a commitment to do it, right? So you go there, and we have a month in which, in 4 structure session, we go from okay, you have never built or you have been built occasionally to okay, in a month we'll do this and there will be homework and there are things you need to do. So at the end of the month, usually people really know how to build this type of agents. And then it's basically a boot camp, right? So we'll go through all of the important building blocks, which yeah, if you watch all of the content which I put out, you'll probably get all of the information, but here are structure on a learning path, right? So a lot of my focus was in building a curriculum. And again, I invite you to go check it. And if you have any feedback, I would really appreciate it, right? But if you go check the curriculum, you'll see all of the steps we'll go through, and all of the will go from a 20% theory, which will be 2 hours of us going through the basics of what are agents, the terminology, and what are the building blocks and how to build an agent from scratches conceptually, and then we'll get to building it together, right? So again, I would be very glad if you can send me a feedback, even if the webinar now is not interesting for you. But if you can send me a feedback, that would also really help me make things better.
This is very helpful. Thank you so much for your patience answering all the questions. Thank you. Thank you, both
Absolutely,
of
it was
you.
good questions.
Thank you for being here with us, everyone. And thank you, Pietro, for walking us through yet another amazing agent that I'm sure most of us will take it back and do it ourselves. We will follow up with that wrap-up email. Give us a couple of days. The YouTube thing takes a minute. And yeah, stay tuned for more upcoming sessions. I know Pietro does more sessions with a lot of other partnerships as well, and Sidebar does more as well. So stay tuned if you want to learn more about these types of topics. Thank you. And thank you, Pietro. Appreciate you being here today. Take care.
Bye, Sue. Thank you for having me. Bye bye.